Obviously, we're here tonight planning to try and pass a budget this evening. So as we go into voter comment, I see a lot of people here. I'd like to make sure everybody keeps their comments to 3 minutes. Try to avoid repetition. You can just sit down and say, I agree with everything everybody else said, and move along if needed, so that we can get on to our actual budget discussion. So let's have anybody who would like to speak at voter comment. Of course, maybe nobody will speak. Nope, no, there we go. So turn on the microphone so it's green. Give us your name and address, and off you go.
Yes, good evening. My name is Caitlin Ormond, and I live at 11 Wiley Lane. I am the parent of 2 children enrolled in Newtown Public Schools, and I also currently serve as the co-president of the Hedda Meadow PTA. I will first speak on behalf of the Hedda Meadow PTA. We represent 255 families within our school community. I'm here to remind the Legislative Council that at a recent special meeting, our membership voted to formally support the Board of Education's proposed budget. Now I will speak for myself as a parent. I am deeply concerned that the reductions proposed to the Board of Education's budget will undermine the educational experience of our children and place undue pressure on our dedicated teachers, administrators, and staff. I believe the budget originally presented by Superintendent Ann Uberti most accurately reflects the needs of our schools and the priorities of our community. While it's understandable some fiscal adjustments may be necessary, I strongly urge the Legislative Council to refrain from making further cuts and to give serious consideration to restoring reductions already made by the Board of Finance. I acknowledge that a significant amount of time, effort, and responsibility is required to develop a fair and balanced budget. I respectfully ask that you honor that effort by safeguarding the educational resources essential to our students' growth, success, and well-being. Thank you for your time and your thoughtful consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening. I was here on Monday, and I had some thoughts after that meeting that I wanted to share with you.
Name and address, please.
Sorry. Jean Quaintance, 27 Ashford Lane.
Thank you.
I also have a child at Hedda Meadow. I'd like to ask the board, and I know that you cannot answer me, if any of your children are currently in the Newtown school system. If not, I ask and implore you to please vote as if they were. It would be beneficial for us to have people on the board, or at least a few people on the board, who actually have the children within the school system, and so you have, for lack of a better term, skin in the game when you're voting for your constituents. So you can see what the schools are dealing with and how they're functioning. I'd like you to be able to vote objectively if you had something that you were fighting for as well. Mr. Rubin, you made a statement Monday that you guys have nothing to do with the line items. I respect that. However, to me it came across as we have nothing to do with what's getting cut. And I don't think that's a fair statement, and I think it's irrelevant. You choose how much money to give us. It's not Ann's fault that she has to find the line item somewhere. She wouldn't have to do it if the budget was restored. You are the ones that have the ability to give her the money to run the schools appropriately. She's doing the best with what she has, and we shouldn't place the blame on the school board for those changes. I'd also like you to share with the public exactly how much our taxes will go up if we reinstated the budget. I think the public is terrified of a large number, and if you can state exactly what number it is, maybe they won't be as scared, and maybe they think it'll be worth it to keep the education of our children the way we like it and the way it deserves to be. In Bethel, as a result of residents like us expressing their concern at their public hearing, the Board of Finance restored a $250,000 to their budget. So follow Bethel's lead. Listen to us and keep our school running in the manner that it should. Keep Newtown a desirable place to have families grow up and have their children receive an education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Hi there. My name is Jessica Ibbotson. I'm 1 Farmery Lane. Good evening, and thank you to the members of the LC for giving us the opportunity to speak last Wednesday evening, Monday evening, and this evening. I'm sorry I missed attending in person Monday night, but my husband was working late, and I had to be home when my 2 kids were dropped off after wrestling practice. I did, however, tune into the live stream while making them dinner, ensuring their homework was being completed, and showers being taken. A juggle anyone with school-age children can certainly understand. I do appreciate the attention and seriousness with which you are approaching this budget, and I definitely do not envy your position. I would like to address a comment that was made Monday night regarding the lack of presence from those who oppose the budget, citing something along the lines that they are uncomfortable voicing their opinions and that they may feel bullied. Let me assure you that they're not the only ones experiencing discomfort and feeling bullied during this process. Last year, additional reductions were made by this council because parents did not show up to voice their opinions, whether it was speaking out in meetings like this or via email. We were criticized publicly, via social media and other outlets for not doing enough. As president of the Sandy Hook School PTA, I can tell you firsthand that all PTAs felt immense pressure, criticism, and responsibility for the failed budget and subsequent reductions, something we were not prepared to feel the ramification for. We thought it was all fun, book fairs and walkathons and whatnot. During the LC meeting last year, when the final number was being set, when going to vote, a few of you commented something along the lines of, I don't want to do this, or I don't agree with it, but I have to because I haven't heard otherwise from parents or those in favor of the budget. You are hearing otherwise from us now. It's loud and clear, so there's no cause for pause when it comes time to vote. I'm not a political person, and I historically have not engaged in the politics of our town government until last budget season. It's definitely not something in my comfort zone. Writing letters to you and getting up in front of the public and speaking on a recorded video that's live streamed for our whole town to hear is not something I'm particularly excited about doing either. But I'm here because it's important, no excuses. And in actuality, I find it to be much more valuable and productive than sitting behind a computer screen and sharing my feelings and expert opinion with the neighbors via social media, a place where parents in favor of the budget often feel bullied as well. Last year, we were criticized, as I said, for not showing up. This year, those opposed to the budget are not showing up, but somehow they get a free pass. That doesn't seem fair. Members of the LC, we're urging you to do the right thing, listen to the people who are speaking up, and restore the budget to the original number drawn up by the experts in education in our town. And finally, my last question, I don't know if it's something you could talk about. At the last meeting, Ms. Burke made the suggestion for any of you to visit the schools before you vote. Just be curious if anybody took her up on that offer and what their findings were. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Legislative Council.
Alex, name and address still. Even
Get
though
to
I know
that. My name is Alex Vellamel. My address is 11 Enterpine Road in Sandy Hook. Our town, like many others, is grappling with significant fiscal challenges. We are facing rising insurance costs, escalating contractual salaries, increasing energy expenses, the need for infrastructure maintenance, and a bevy of other costs. At the same time, our collection rates have declined. We have lost critical state funding, all of which have created a perfect storm for our budget. We have been fortunate to benefit from minimal tax increases, averaging less than 1% annually for the past decade. In fact, there were 2 years in which there was no increases at all. While this might have seemed like a windfall at the time, it is important to recognize that this approach has proven to be unsustainable in the face of rising inflation and growing costs. We've saved on tax increases, but in doing so, we failed to adequately build our reserves. Now we are left to confront a substantial fiscal shortfall that will require tough decisions. One of the largest portions of our budget is dedicated to education, and as such, it is often seen as a place to make cuts. However, cutting funding from our schools is a mistake. I speak of our children as a member of this community, not only because I have 4 children who have graduated from the school system, but because I understand the profound value of supporting a strong education system for the future of all our kids. I've heard arguments that there are efficiencies to be found in the Board of Education's budget. As a business owner, I understand the value of finding efficiencies, both in small business and in large entities like our school system. However, there's a balance that must be struck. For example, if I ask one of my employees to take on the workload of two, I may see a short-term gain. But if I push that employee to take on the work of three, the quality of the work will inevitably suffer. The same principle applies to our schools. There's a point where further cuts would undermine the very quality of education we're striving to provide. From the testimony of Superintendent Uberti, it is clear that last year's flat budget, combined with the adjustments already made by the Board of Education, has resulted in a very tight fiscal situation for our schools. Any additional cuts would destabilize the balance that has allowed us to maintain the high-quality education our community expects. To believe that further reductions will lead to greater efficiency or effectiveness in education is misguided. I've always struggled to understand why we don't prioritize education more. Rather than retreat, we should be doubling down on strengthening our schools, supporting our teachers, and investing in a system that shapes our children's futures. Education is the key to unlocking opportunities, broadening minds, and fostering a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. As Benjamin Franklin wisely said, when someone builds knowledge, they not only transform their own lives, but their entire communities.
Thank you.
Can I finish one more? The last part. I urge the Legislative Council to listen to the overwhelming voices of our community and support our children and schools by passing the Board of Education budget, whether in its original form or at least in the form recommended by the Board of Finance. Any further cuts will tip the scales to the detriment of our kids. Thank you for your time and the work that you do.
Thank you. Further voter comment?
Good evening, Daria Landowski, 18 Cobblers Mill Road. Excuse me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. As a parent and a proud member of this community, I want to begin by acknowledging the very real weight of your decision. No one takes tax increases lightly, especially not the families who are already navigating higher costs in nearly every aspect of daily life. But I want to be clear, the Board of Education's proposed budget, already reduced by the Board of Finance, is not padded or inflated. It reflects the cost of keeping our schools functioning at a level our students need and deserve. The original budget would have meant a $754 annual tax increase for the average Newtown household. After the Board of Finance's reduction, that figure dropped to $681. If an additional $800,000, as an example, is cut tonight, that number falls to $612. That's a $69 difference for the average household. But the costs of these cuts go far beyond the tax bill. The consequences are real and tangible for our students and staff. Already, more than 20 positions have been eliminated in the budget passed by the Board of Finance. That's a significant loss in and of itself. But if this budget is reduced further, the district will be forced to consider cutting 2 unarmed security guards at our elementary schools, a decision that impacts not just operations, but our sense of safety. The K-6 Spanish program, eliminating nearly early exposure to world languages, which we know supports both cognitive development and future academic success. High school elective offerings, which provide students with opportunities to explore passions, build skills, and stay engaged in their education. Freshman sports, an entry point to athletics that many students rely on for community, structure, and confidence. Increased pay-to-play fees for athletics, placing more burden on families and potentially limiting access to sports for those who can't afford it. Reductions in maintenance and support staff, making it harder to keep our buildings safe, clean, and functioning. And the absorption of the Director of Fine Arts position, a move that would impact the quality and coordination of our music and arts programs across all grade levels. These cuts do not represent a tightening of the belt. They're structural, foundational reductions that will affect the student experience in classrooms, on fields, and in the arts. They threaten what makes our schools vibrant, engaging, and supportive of the whole child. What we're asking for is not luxury, it's stability. It's the ability to retain strong programs, keep our kids safe, and honor the commitment we've made to educating the next generation. So I ask you tonight, what is the education and success of our children worth to us as a town? Please vote to approve the budget as it stands or restore it to the original amount proposed. Let's demonstrate that Newtown prioritizes its schools even when the choices are difficult. Thank you for your time and your service to the community.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Evie Amera, 53 Mount Pleasant Road, and I have 3 children in Newtown school system, 2 in 3rd grade and 1 in 7th grade. I am also co-president of Meadow PTA, and I'm here to speak today as myself individually. So today, I would like to state my support in support of the original superintendent's budget before any cuts were suggested by Board of Finance. And here are the 9 reasons I think why the budget should be restored. Reason number 1, larger parent body supports the original budget. All 7 district PTAs have voted to support the budget last month, and that is significant. Reason number 2, there has been a huge parent body participation in the last few meetings, expressing support and desire to restore the budget. It is extremely hard for school-age children parents to be here at 7:30 p.m. because we have multiple after-school activities per night, school events. Of course, parents have to catch up on their work, make dinner, and do multiple bedtime routines. I myself have hired a babysitter to be here today. So the fact that so many parents have shown up in the last few meetings since Board of Finance suggested cuts is a huge deal. Reason number 3, the budget is already lean. 2.7% increase was due to health insurance managed by the town, so that leaves us with only 3.19% actual increase after the huge budget cuts last year and after already eliminating 28 positions for next year. Reason number 4, Spanish program is the first. Is this still working? Spanish program is the first thing on the chopping board block, and parents have been loud and clear that they do not want to cut that. Reason number 5, there's nothing to cut. Parents should not have to choose between cutting school security officers or decreasing class sizes. Both are extremely important in a town like Newtown. Reason number 6, I feel that children should be safe and appropriately supported in Newtown public schools. So many of us have moved here because of good schools, and that is a promise we have to keep and be fiscally responsible for. Reason number 7, the federal elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds ran out last year. There's nothing to cut. Reason number 8, state revenues are decreasing constantly, giving less fundings to school. There's nothing more to cut. And last but not least, the reason number 9, I believe that preserving the educational experience of Newtown students is necessary, and it is unfortunate that residents have to bear the burden of the tax increase to maintain the status of our schools. Therefore, I urge local leaders to work harder on developing business areas that help bear the tax burden so we're not in this situation again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from voters?
Hi, my name is Kevin McHugh, 9 Pilgrim Lane, Sandy Hook. I do not have prepared remarks today. You guys have heard me talk, I think, twice now, and the Board of Finance heard me talk once before that. I'm obviously here to support the budget as it was originally envisioned by the Board of Education, but I did want to bring up a couple of points before you guys made your decision. I think a lot of people these days kind of expect a negotiation to start out with something outlandish, right, or something more than what you want or more than what you need. And then you kind of work your way back to, you negotiate and you work your way back to where ultimately you can live with, right? But that's not what this was. In the very beginning, I went to earlier meetings that the superintendent had, and actually her original ask was going to be an increase of about 8 or 9%, I forget the exact number. She already negotiated herself down, right, before she ever introduced this to the Board of Finance. This is not a art of the deal sort of, put something big out there and then make it seem worse so that your actual position seems more palatable. The budget that was proposed by the Board of Education was what was needed. That was a good faith effort to put forth the very best budget that was the absolute, what was required. I mean, as you can see, there were already 26 positions cut in that budget. And just to respond to a statement that was just made previously, at least within the Board of Education, no one has an exorbitant salary, right? Not even the leadership within the Board of Education or any of the leadership in the schools. Anyone that does that job for an equivalent private company gets paid much, much more than the teachers and the administrators in the schools are getting paid to do the same thing to run the schools. So there is no waste there. There's no abuse of the system. There's no one pulling down, like, look at the parking lot of, the teacher's parking lot of any of these schools. There are no Porsches or Ferraris or whatever. Everyone's driving Honda Civics and stuff like that, right? So what's being asked for here is what is required to keep our schools functioning, but also to keep our schools good. Like, we are proud of our good schools here. Most people, as you've heard, most people say, we moved here for the schools. That's what my wife and I did back in 2013, well before we had kids. We've lived here. We set up a life here because we knew we wanted to have kids here, and we knew we wanted to raise kids in a town that had good schools. Newtown had good schools. So I want that to continue to be a thing. I want to continue to be a point of pride in town. And I really do think you guys need to realize that what was being asked for originally was the compromise position. Anything further than that is going to make things worse. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Further public comments?
Oh, I'll be quick. Jeremy Huss, 13 Arlen Ridge Road. I am not a political person by any means. I had to follow someone into this room because I didn't know where this meeting actually was today. But it stresses the importance of how important our education system is to the town of Newtown and to our families. People live here, like have moved here because it's important and our schools are important. That's why people come to Newtown. So to sacrifice and to give up our education system really jeopardizes the future of Newtown. So I just want to make sure everyone stresses and understands the importance of this decision. And again, this impacts, I know a lot of people can't show up because it's been said, families, and I had to cut out for my kids. I got a 3- and 6-year-old at home. I had to skip out on bedtime to be here, but it just shows the importance of education for our children. So thank you.
Thank you.